Oh, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Sarah. I hope you've all been having a lovely morning so far. I hope what I'm going to talk about today actually follows on very nicely from what Susan was talking about and that idea of finding a moment of calm. I actually also think that looking at art and talking about art can also be a great way to find a moment of calm in our sort of busy lives. So I hope that it has followed on nicely from what you've been looking at so far. So I would also love to know kind of who is in the kind of virtual room with us today. So if you feel free to kind of post in the chat your name and where you are, it would be lovely to kind of get a sense of sort of who's in the room with us today. And thank you very much for having me. So can you all see this okay? Yeah, done.
Yes, we can. We can.
Great. So this is the Wallace collection. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. Just to kind of to go over what I'll be looking at. So firstly, I'll just kind of introduce you to the Wallace collection for anyone that hasn't been or hasn't heard of us before. Just give you an overview of the program that we offer for people living with dementia and carers, and then look at some kind of ways of incorporating art and looking at art into everyday conversations and have a go ourselves if you're up for that. And by all means, as I go along, feel free to ask any questions. It's not supposed to be super formal, so just as if anything pops up as we're going along, feel free to ask. So firstly, just for anyone who hasn't been before, the Wallace Collection is in London. It's in Bond Street, so just behind Oxford Street. So what you're looking at on the screen today is just a couple of images from the building. So in the top right-hand corner, there's the outside of the building, and then we've got a couple of snapshots of the rooms. It's quite an interesting museum in that it's actually started its life as a family collection. It was a private collection for many years, built up by the Marquesses of Hertford. But when that last member of the family died, he left the collection as a gift to the nation. So it is now owned by everyone. It's owned by you, it's owned by me. It's a free public museum. It's open 7 days a week. So it's free to visit. So it's quite unique in that sense, that it feels like a home, it feels like a house, but it's actually a free public museum. And because the family are all interested in such different things, it's a very eclectic collection. So you can see in the bottom right hand corner, we've got a big Arms and Armour collection. So for all the Arms and Armour fans out there, we've got a big Arms and Armour collection, and we've also got a big collection of French paintings and furniture. So it's a real mix. So the program that I kind of look after is called Out of the Frame, and it's called Out of the Frame because we try to bring things to life and we bring things to you. So it's a real mixture of a program. So for anyone who works in sort of London and surrounding area, I offer a kind of free program of outreach workshops. So we go to memory cafes, we go to day centres, we go to care homes, and it's a free program. We bring kind of reproductions of artworks and we use them as stimulus as discussion. So I'll go through in a bit sort of how we do that. And we usually have a theme. And we have some handling as well, and sometimes we do practical activities as well. So it's a really varied program. And also anyone who's caring for anyone living with dementia and also lives in London, we also have a free monthly creative workshop for adults living with dementia and their carers as well. So if you'd like to get on our mailing list or anything like that, my email address will be at the end. So you're very welcome to do that. You can see on the screen here a couple of pictures from some of the sessions that we've run. So this is Sandra and Bernie in the middle of the screen here. They're a real sort of favorite couple of mine. They come to all our sessions, and it's really wonderful to see them together. I think these sessions are as much for carers as they are for people living with dementia. It's really wonderful to see what that time can do for people, and kind of bringing people together and looking at art is a really wonderful way to it's both carers and people living with dementia. Similarly, in memory cafes and care homes as well, it's really wonderful to see how staff kind of engage with it as well. So it's kind of a program for everyone. I also just thought, as we're on Zoom, I thought I would also mention that we actually started doing digital sessions during the pandemic, and we've actually continued them because we found that they are also a really wonderful way to bring the collection to people who can't otherwise physically visit us or aren't actually even in London. And it's really interesting to work with people who are in their own homes, living in their own homes, and and kind of working with us, engaging with us. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner here, we did an 8-week online project with Arts for Dementia, who I think you're going to be hearing from later. They do wonderful things. And also in the top right-hand corner, this is from a session from In a Care Home. But we found that actually digital has been a really interesting aspect to the work that we do, and we're going to continue it because it's such a wonderful way to reach people living at home as well. So again, anyone interested to hear more about that, do just let me know. So moving on to kind of our approach and what we do and how we might do that together. I will sort of firstly think about, so what do we mean by art? I think some people can feel a little bit intimidated by it. I know I definitely did for a while. It's kind of, you might not think, where do you begin if you don't have an art history degree? But I honestly, what I would hope to encourage you is that you definitely don't need to know anything about art to appreciate it or look at it. And actually so much of what looking at art is just about sharing ideas and noticing. You don't have to sort of know anything about it. Also, just to kind of impress upon everyone that it doesn't have to be in a museum. It doesn't have to be a painting in a museum. We're kind of surrounded by art always. So I've shown a couple of examples here. Postcards, for example. If you've got postcards at home, if you've got postcards anywhere, postcards someone sent to you, or you've just picked up a postcard in a shop. Also magazines, art on magazines, there's kind of constantly images. And also it doesn't just have to be 2D things as well. It can be a vase, it can be a plate, it can be anything. So I kind of want to impress on you that art is everywhere and all around us. So we should kind of take the time to engage with it. And it really doesn't have to be from a museum. And it definitely doesn't have to be from the Wallace collection either. You can, if there's a local museum that you like going to, if you're more interested in abstract art, contemporary art, I have to say the Wallace collection is rather old in terms of its periods. But if you like contemporary art, also that's great. Hopefully what we're going to talk about today also applies. So art is everywhere, essentially. And here are some of the things that I hope is a reason for looking at art. You might be thinking, why bother? Why if I'm not interested in it, why should I? So these are the 5 ways to well-being, which I don't know if anyone has come across the 5 ways to well-being, but they were sort of, I think the New Economics Foundation came up with them a good few years ago, but organizations like Mind have since sort of taken them up as a kind of way of looking after our well-being on a daily basis. So these are the kind of 5 ways of well-being, essentially, and things that we should be hopefully doing on a day-to-day basis just to look after ourselves, just on a day-to-day basis. So, we also feel that looking at art also embodies a lot of these kinds of things. So connecting is a really important thing that we all do, and is a very important part of looking after ourselves. And when we're looking at art, it is an invitation to connect with what we're looking at, but not just that. It's also with each other. It's also by asking questions, that kind of thing. Taking notice, so just taking a moment to notice what you're looking at. Learn, obviously, you can kind of learn about what you're looking at as well. Being active, so that can be anything from moving or active looking, active questioning, that kind of thing. And then giving, so sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. All of these things, even just by looking at art, is an invitation to kind of embody all those 5 ways to well-being. And then in terms of kind of how we do that, so this is what we call See, Think, Wonder. So this is what we use sort of when we're looking at art, and feel free to kind of take a screenshot of this, or I can send this to you after. But this you can apply this to anything. As I said, you can apply this to a postcard, you can apply this to a painting or a print or a bowl, anything. This is what you can use when you're looking at art. So the first thing that's really important is the see aspect. So you can see on the left-hand corner. I think sometimes when we're kind of rushing around day to day, we don't kind of take time to just kind of slow down and look even. And I think so much of engaging with art is just looking and noticing. That's a huge part. So I think just taking a moment to what are we really looking at? What are we noticing? What's happening here? Just by observing, I think that's a huge part of looking at art. And sometimes people kind of try and jump to try and understand what it is that they're looking at, but just by looking and noticing and sharing that with others, that's a huge part. And then kind of from there, you can kind of move on to other kind of questions. So after we've kind of spent some time looking and noticing, then we can start thinking about, okay, so what is actually happening? What can we see? Is there people? What are they doing? Are they talking to each other? What that might be saying? So from kind of building on the idea, from building on what you've noticed, then you can start thinking about what's actually happening. And then finally, the final section is called wonder. So that's a kind of any further questions that you might have. So we've looked at it. We've talked about what might be happening, but what more do we want to find out? I mean, if we want to find out something more, what other questions do we have? So kind of building up from there. I mean, you don't have to kind of do it in that order by any means, but definitely the most important thing is just looking and noticing. So just taking a moment to do that. So that's the kind of see, think, wonder approach that we adopt when we're kind of looking at art. And here are some little top tips as well. So again, don't feel like you have to sit and look at something for an hour. I think that's very important. It could just literally be 5 minutes of your day to sit with someone. So you could be with the person that you're caring for, or as a carer, you could be just sat looking at a piece of art together, just for 5 minutes as a kind of conversation starter or anything like that. That's more than enough. It doesn't have to be for an hour. Art is a very flexible resource. You can use it how you like. So that's something that's quite important. And again, don't worry about kind of knowledge or what you do or don't know. Your opinion is as valid as anyone's. What matters is the experience of looking and sharing and observing together, and just having a conversation about what it is you're looking at. It doesn't have to. You don't have to be an expert. I think that's something that's really important to convey. Also adding sensory elements, and this is something that we do a lot in our sessions and works really well. It depends on kind of what you're looking at, obviously, but sometimes even just playing a piece of music alongside. It could be a piece of music from the time, it could be a piece of music that links with a theme. Or for example, if you're looking at a painting of flowers, so for example, this painting that we're looking at on our screen now, you could have some real flowers to hand, or there's a painting of fruit. So you can see there's lots of, there's some peaches, there's a pomegranate, there's some plums. So if you've got pomegranates at home, if you've got a peach at home, could you look at that together? Could you smell, what does the peach smell like? Could you taste a bit of it? So kind of adding those little sensory elements, particularly for people living with dementia, is a really kind of powerful way of engaging with art. If you have that to hand, sometimes if you've got fabrics, for example, if you're looking at a woman wearing a velvet dress or something, do you have a piece of velvet that you could hold? That kind of thing. Sometimes that can really bring things to life for people. And then if you're thinking, well, where do I begin? Where do I start? If you've got a prompt word or a theme in mind, so for example, if it's autumn and you want to find something to look at that has something to do with autumn, just have that word in your mind, and you can just have a Google search of autumn paintings, for example. Or if you're looking at a particular theme, something like that. So just having a word in your mind just to get started is a really sort of good way to sort of get started. So that is the kind of overview of how we might incorporate art into everyday activities. So I thought, why don't we have a look at something together? So this is a painting, but firstly, I thought, what do you notice? What can you see happening in this painting?
Would you like people just to say that, Holly,
or put it in the chat? Yeah, or say, yeah.
Okay.
Either. Don't worry, there's no right or wrong. So just what do you notice? Chaos, lovely. Having a bun fight, family gathering, the baby, yes. A baptism, that's interesting. Celebration. People are doing lots of things. This is wonderful. People cooking, talking. It's interesting that a couple of people have said baptism. Enjoyment, meal, a mess on the floor, lovely. The chair. Yes, the chair is quite interesting, isn't it? So someone's already noticed the woman coming together of people. Love the chair. Yes, I love that too. That kind of empty chair. What could that mean? The coming together of people. So you've all noticed what lots of wonderful things. So the young and the old. Um, Someone said it's a baptism, which is really interesting. Um, Many ages, lots of activity, celebration. Sorry, I'm just reading aloud here for anyone who can't hear. Is she the baby's mother? Is she going to sit down and feed the baby? Well, yes. So you've all noticed lots of things. It's chaos. There's celebration. The color. Yes, the baby is quite central to this, as some of you have noticed, which is great. The question I have to ask. So, is she the baby's mother? You ask. Who's she? Which one do you think is the baby's mother? There is a sick person. Is that someone unwell? The person that's unwell in the background is quite key to this, actually, I should say, as is the baby. So firstly, who do you think the baby's mother is? Anyone got an idea who the baby's mother is?
The woman who's got her back to us, that's because she's kind of looking at she making eye contact with the baby, so she the baby's mum.
She could be. I mean, sorry, I feel like I'm sort of tricking you here, and by saying you don't need to know anything, but I do know about this painting, so I am going to sort of slightly go against my word and say I'll tell you about it. But it's also quite fun to guess. So yes, she could be the mother, but what's interesting is someone is it reminds me of the end of life and the beginning of life. Oh, that's beautiful. The woman on the left, I'll tell you that the woman on the left in lying down is the mother, as it happens.
Yeah.
But the woman standing up is an interesting person. It's quite she's an intriguing character. But the woman lying down on the back is in fact the mother, I should say, because she's in her period of confinement. So she's had the baby. And she's being fed something. So there's a couple of women kind of looking after her. Yeah, she's easy to miss. Someone said that you would never have noticed her. Again, this is why noticing is so important, just taking that moment to notice, because actually there's so much that we don't actually look at and don't notice until someone else says it. I think that's also a really important thing, is that until someone else says it, you might not even notice it yourself, which is quite fun to look. Why it's quite fun to look at it together. So we found the mother, but who's the dad? Who is the dad? Any ideas?
Hopefully the man holding the child.
Hopefully the man holding the child. You would hope so. I mean, this painting is a little bit scandalous, I should say. Sorry, I should have warned you. But so there's a man behind the baby.
Yeah. Creeping up.
He's creeping up. Exactly. Can you see what he's doing? The man behind the baby. I think
he's putting his hand up.
He is.
And his head.
He is. 2 fingers, exactly. 2 fingers behind the baby's head like that. I mean, this is, sorry, I should also say this is Dutch, so, and it's from about 400 years ago, but does anyone have any idea what that means? Don't worry if you don't.
Well, kind of get on with it yourselves.
It's this is a sign for a cuckold. So what that means is this baby, the man who's holding the baby, as you rightly have pointed out, thinks he's the dad, but unfortunately he's not. The father is someone else. So hugely out of wedlock, exactly. It is illegitimate penny, exactly. So you already noticed one of the first things someone said was that it's chaos, and you're right, it's absolute chaos. Not only is it a chaotic scene, but this is a chaotic family. I'm sure everyone has experience of chaotic families, but this by no means is any exception. So this man is not the father, I'm afraid. We don't know who the father is. It could be the man behind. Worse than EastEnders, exactly. Worse than EastEnders, much worse than EastEnders. This is, and there are a few other characters. So we found should be dad and the mother, but who else are all these people? Who else do you notice? Like who could they be in this chaotic family scene?
The grandmother.
Besides the grandmother.
Yeah, with the child.
Yes. This woman here, she sat down. Yeah, she does it like a grandmother. She's rather grumpy, I think. I don't know whether you agree. I think she looks rather grumpy. Busybodies, exactly. So we found the grandmother. There's also anyone else that you notice? Servants, yes. But for many, it might be fine to have this. Yeah, it's chaos. I mean, the title of the painting is actually Celebration of Birth, so it's chaotic, but it's also celebratory as well. So the servants, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like the combination of the orange, the way it has been brought in. You know, it kind of, with all the chaos that's going on, it brings a bit of lightness to the picture.
Yes,
The
that's lovely.
little things with the orange, the shoes and the bodice and the chair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yes, the orange, it kind of unifies the whole thing, even though it's a chaotic scene. Eggs broken on the ground is significant. Yes, it absolutely is. What makes you say that? And what do you think? Why are there eggs on the floor, broken on the floor?
I think something to do with birth, but yeah, it's something I picked up immediately.
Yeah.
But I'm not totally sure, but I know with Dutch masters there's significance in just about everything.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I mean, lots of people get confused by the eggs on the floor, I have to say. Everyone's walking on eggshells. I love that. I've not heard that before. That's wonderful. Yes. As you rightly pointed out, Dutch art is often filled with hidden symbols and meanings. Broken eggs could be something to do with fertility, perhaps. I'm not 100% sure, but signify the breaking of trust. Yes, that's lovely. There are also other things on the floor. Someone quite rightly asked me, why is there a pestle and mortar on the floor? If you can spot that, there's a pestle and mortar. I don't know why there's a pestle and mortar on the floor. There's also another thing on the floor. Does anyone know what this is? This thing here?
For heating the bed, it kind of
It is.
They used to put water in them and just put them in the bed to heat the bed.
Exactly. It's a bedpan. So why is that on the floor? Why on earth? Why isn't that where it should be? It's fun to guess. Again, what was that? Sorry.
Part of the chaos.
Part of the chaos, exactly. Part of the chaos. Part of the chaos, exactly. And there is also, so this woman sat down in front of us. Can you see what she's doing with her? So in one hand she's stirring a pot, and then in her other hand, can you see what she's doing? This woman sat here in the green skirt, who's facing us. Giving birth is always a bit chaotic. Yes, I'm sure. I can't speak for myself, but she's in conversation. She's also with her right hand. The man who should be the father he's got his hand in a little money pocket, and she's kind of asking for money. So what is she asking for money? Or looking at everyone's faces, they're all happy. Yes, that's lovely. It's interesting to think about expression of faces, and yeah, they all look quite happy, apart from maybe the grumpy grandmother. Everyone is fairly happy. Is she the midwife? The midwife, we think, is probably actually the ones kind of gathered around the mother in the back. She does, yeah, exactly. She's asking for money. And then in the sort of exactly, why is she asking for money? Why why has the artist chosen to include that? She could, yeah, cleavage. I know it's quite hard to miss her cleavage, isn't it? It's not to miss even. In the left-hand corner as well, there's a woman sat down. Can you see what she's doing? I know it's really sad how the mother is disregarded. Also apparently a couple of people have often asked, why is she in the kitchen? Why isn't she in the bedroom? Like, but apparently a lot of the time beds were in the kitchen because it was the warmest place in the house, so that's why she's there. Penny, yes, she's pregnant. So the woman sat down on the left is pregnant, but she's also doing something with her. So she's got one hand on her bump, and then in her other hand, she's doing something. She's raising something to her mouth. I don't know if anyone can see that.
No.
She's raising a glass to her mouth, so she might be. What is in that? What could be in that glass? And you can see there's a woman behind her. I think she was smoking. Interesting. No, it's very hard to see, but it is a sort of clear wine glass, we think. And then there's a woman behind her who looks like, I mean, I think she kind of looks like she's telling her off a bit. I don't know if you agree with that. Kind of why a pregnant woman shouldn't be not smoking, shouldn't be drinking, should she? She's kind of looks like she's kind of slightly reproaching her. So yes, it's scandalous. It is all incredibly scandalous. But not everyone reads it that way. So, you know, it's very much your personal interpretation is just as kind of valid as everyone's. Not everyone reads it as scandalous, but I have to say it kind of is. But if you also see it more as a celebration, because the title of the painting is Celebration of the Birth, then that's equally valid as well, because it is quite a kind of chaotic family scene. And it's a very the empty chair is quite kind of special to me, I think. I wonder what that means. Sorry, I'm just quick checking if I've lost anything. So yeah, so that was just a bit of fun. Hopefully you can, absence of the father, perhaps. Yes, absolutely. It is quite a grand chair for the kitchen. Perhaps it means the baby is being given away. Yes, perhaps. The baby it does look quite striking. It's kind of against a board. It almost looks like it's kind of strapped in. It's almost like a throne. Yes, it is lovely. Yes, it is almost like a throne. It's really fun. It's really fun to guess. I've never been able to I don't know the answer myself. So all of these opinions are just as valid as anyone's, really. There's so much to kind of look and notice. The artist has included his signature just above the door as well. So the date of the painting is there, 1664, and the artist's signature. So I don't know if anyone spotted that just above the door. So Steen is the artist, Jan Steen. So yeah, exactly, it is a bit of fun. I hope that this has kind of shown you that you don't need to be an expert. You can look at something for 5 minutes. You can look at something for 10 minutes. You can never have seen anything before, and it's a really fun thing to do together as well. For people living with dementia and carers, it's a lot of fun just to kind of look at and talk about together. I am slightly ahead of time, but I realise it might be nearly your lunchtime, so that might be a good thing. You might want to have a nice lunch. I should also mention that we have a lot of free resources on our website as well. So these are for people living with dementia and carers. We have a whole range of free resources. So kind of what we did today, where we just had a look at a painting. We've also got some paintings with some suggested kind of things to notice in them. So that's something you can do together at home. We've got some creative sort of colouring sheets as well for anyone who likes colouring. You can kind of print those out and fill them in, or I can also post them to you as well if you'd like. And so that's the kind of link on our website if you'd like to have a look. And yes, that is everything, I think.
Well, Holly, it's fantastic, and I think you're absolutely right that some people find the notion of art rather intimidating because they think they should know something, or there's some deep hidden meaning, and that little exercise you've just done with us was really showed that that's not the case. Has anybody got any questions for Holly? Just
inspiring.
Yeah. I love Sue's interpretation about baby not being sat down. Yes, there's so much hidden meaning in that chair. I love talking about that chair.
Yeah,
Could talk about the chair all day.
Yes. Could you just say very briefly, Holly, just explain a little bit more about what you have available for people with dementia and carers?
Yes, absolutely. So for people living at home, there are some free resources on our website. So if you are living at home with someone and you want to just look at a piece of art for 5 minutes, you just as a conversation starter, we have a whole kind of series of that kind of resource on our website, and also colouring sheets as well, if that's something that that's something of interest. Some people really like colouring, some people don't. I appreciate it's a very personal preference. And if you are in London, we do also have kind of free monthly sessions at the Wallace Collection as well, if you would like. And you can kind of get in touch with me about that as well.
And
yeah,
the places you go and visit, Holly,
yes,
do they have to be in a certain radius of the Wallace Collection?
Within London, I'm just going to put my email address just.
Yeah, what does that mean? Does that mean a London postal address, or
so kind of Greater London? So within sort of Zone 6, as it were.
okay.
So if you are from an organisation and you're in sort of Greater London, then and you'd like a visit from us, then do get in touch as well. For that kind of thing, we're more than happy to. It'd be great.
I mean, isn't it fantastic that the Wallace Collection fund a post like yours? I mean, it's really
yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's very important to bring things out to people, because visiting the Wallace is not accessible or possible for so many people. So it's very important that we do this kind of work to make sure that we connect with people who can't visit us. It's it's a very important part of what we do.
Do you know other galleries that do the same outside London?
I don't know, is it off the top of my head? Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm trying to think. Depends where. I mean, lots of museums and galleries do have sort of community programs in various forms. It might not be a whole post, but it might be part of someone's role. They might not always work with people living with dementia, though. That's the thing. I know, like Liverpool has a very good dementia program for anyone up in the north. And Suffolk, I would love to come to Suffolk. Yeah, what depends where you are, Nikki. Are you in a particular whereabouts are you? Because that might narrow it down. But if I can think of anyone, I'll definitely let you know.
Well, after lunch, we're going to hear about another art project as well. So Holly, I thank you so much for doing this. I mean, it was
no problem. Thanks for having me.
exciting and interesting and inspirational.
I hope so. I hope it's encouraged you just to not have fear of just looking at something, and as I say, noticing and just looking can be a very calming thing as well. It doesn't have to be a chaotic scene like that celebration of birth, but it can be something much more calming, and the sort of calming benefits of that are huge as well. So pick anything and just start with what you like. Really, that's always a good place to start.